What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Streckbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they heard from a very familiar name today, an interesting case that they have been waiting on for a long time. Well, they find out a little bit more. We find out a little bit more, at least, about the situation and everything that it holds. Meanwhile, Will Howard has a very important mentor heading into his rookie season, and one that I think comes as a bit of a surprise, but should get everybody really fired up. We're going to dive into what it means for him, the Steelers, the long-term outlook of the quarterback position, and once again, how somehow Mason Rudolph just gets the short end of every stick in Pittsburgh. And then there's the Mike Tomlin situation and Aaron Rodgers and everything going on, and how one insider believes, well, it all falls on one name. We're diving into that plus more. Jake, it is a stormy one here in the Berg, but it's been nice pretty much all day except for the last 10 minutes, so can't complain. We had flood warnings all night, didn't get them, so I'm grateful for that. Hope you're holding it down over there. Hope you got the boat ready just in case. And how you feeling, my friend?
Feeling all right. Yeah, we got the flood watchers on. I'm ready to get the swimmies on and just kind of dive into this storm that is coming in heavy right now. But yeah, we're gonna power through. I got my best pup Eleanor with me watching. Beautiful. Just off camera here, so she's riding out the storm with me. So yeah, we're ready to go, baby. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. A lot of chaos today, but I absolutely love it. The Pirates snuck one in. I don't know if it's raining there, if it's not rain. I assume Ohio and Pittsburgh are exactly the same at all times weather-wise. So I hope that our boy Dom Campbell over there is holding it down. But we had Pirates news going on all day long. Obviously, Steelers news coming in hot and heavy, even some Pitt stuff. And, well, the Penguins are the Penguins, man, but they're chilling. And NHL continues. I'm holding up. We're doing well. I'm excited to talk some Aaron Rodgers here. For those of you who aren't a big Joe Rogan guy, you might have missed this one. I'm not going to lie to you. I am a Joe Rogan guy. I'm not a, there are levels to being a Joe Rogan guy. I feel I'm the level of, oh, this guy's talking about living in the Amazon jungle for 7 years. That sounds like a good idea. I'm 100% locked into this interview. And I feel that I would have saw the Aaron Rodgers thing coming, didn't, but the man's an enigma. And because of that, we never know what's coming. Aaron Rodgers, however, went on the interview, was asked about a bunch of stuff, and kind of opened the curtain a little bit to why he is taking so long with the Pittsburgh Steelers and what is causing this decision. And to be very honest with you, I've known some of it. I haven't felt comfortable enough or in the right place to say any of it. And I'm a little thankful that Aaron just kind of let a little bit of it out, because it's important to know, I think, for everybody else who's waiting and feeling this is overly dramatic for no reason whatsoever. He said this on the podcast. He said, quote, "I am trying to be open to everything and not specifically attached to a decision." Classic Aaron Rodgers quote right there. "I'm not holding anyone hostage. I've been upfront from the beginning. I don't mean any disrespect to anyone on a team. I'm just going through a lot in my personal life that has to take priority. I don't think it was fair to the Steelers or anyone while I deal with a lot of things off the field. The people that I know are the people that know. The people that don't make up shit about me." He later said, just dropped it suddenly or when discussing this, quote, "I figured it out during the last year when I've been in the weeds with these people who are close to me that have cancer." Obviously, we don't know names. A development that shows just how serious this situation is. A lot to talk about, I think. I don't think it's as easy as, oh, somebody close to him has cancer and that's the end of the story and we wait forever. This is the NFL. It's a business, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have to take it all seriously. But you hear those things after months of waiting. We're 60 days since he showed up here in Pittsburgh, 61 days to be exact, since he showed up here in Pittsburgh. You hear these things, you get a little bit behind the curtain, and does it change your outlook on the situation on Rodgers and maybe how you feel about the weight.
Here's the first takeaway. It allows me, as I'm sort of absorbing this quote, because I'm not a Joe Rogan guy, so I didn't catch this episode. But it does immediately sort of evoke some sympathy from me, just because I know we've touched on it. We've talked about sort of, the personal things. We talked about like Stephon Tuitt and Derek Harmon a little bit yesterday, like these personal things, these tragedies that affect families and these NFL players. The effects of it can be, great unknown, and we really have no way to sort of predict them or project how it affects our football team that we love talking about. So
Yeah.
That all being said, it immediately garners some sympathy for me. It's like, okay, there are things that are bigger than football, obviously, but now we have a little bit of insight into the person that's going through that, not just the expected quarterback of the Steelers that we keep talking about. So immediately just want to say, send good thoughts to whoever Aaron Rodgers is talking about in this situation, anyone else who's dealing with that within their family, friends group, send you love and support and strength and all those good things. But yeah, beyond that, I still feel like I'm exactly in the same place in terms of all of this. I have no further insight on whether Aaron Rodgers has made a decision, whether the Steelers have one and they're trying not to tip their hand. I feel exactly still in limbo on this.
I agree. I don't think it changes much. I think it starts with the understanding that Aaron is actually going through something serious, and someone close to him is going through something serious. And the situation with the Pittsburgh or with Aaron Rodgers, excuse me, has always been the same. His circle is ridiculously small, and he's never expanded it, which means that he takes little things a little bit more personal, or these things a little bit more personal. It impacts him a little bit more. Do I think that it causes justification to drag this on the way that it has? I think to some degree, yes. I have a hard time sitting here and saying that I have an issue with anybody saying right now I'm focused on my ailing family member or friend or loved one, and instead I'm going to show up to the Steelers. I will say this. If he shows up by OTAs or by minicamp, there is no difference in my head. You know what I mean? That's where it becomes like a weird, you're walking a strange line in this situation. I don't want to sit here and say that anybody dealing with this is doing anything wrong. But I do want to acknowledge is that, again, if you show up, my expectation is Aaron Rodgers is going to be there eventually. If you show up in minicamp, it almost feels as if this whole dramatic, drawn-out thing could have been avoided, and you wouldn't have had to answer any of these questions, and almost as if you've put yourself in the position to be the center and the headline and we have to ask you 90 questions about this, when you could just avoid all of it by have had the decision and then showing up for minicamp. My second biggest takeaway from this is that he says that he's been upfront from the beginning, and that he's going through a lot in his life that has to take priority, and that, quote, I don't think it was fair to the Steelers or anyone while I deal with a lot of things off the field. The people that know, the people that don't make shit up. You look at that, and my thought is, okay, what's not fair to the Steelers? I think that's the question that's being asked right now. What is not fair to the Steelers? Are you not able to show up until July? Because if that's the case, them knowing their quarterback is a much better situation than going through the summer guessing about their quarterback. Even if they know Aaron's not showing up till July because personal things are going on and he can't be here in minicamp and OTAs. Awesome. That's a significantly less story than this one that we're talking about right now. What is it? There is a hostage component to this, and it feels as if something's unaligned. Either the Steelers have a handshake agreement in this whole scenario, and they are well aware and very comfortable lying to us and taking the heat in the process that Aaron Rodgers is showing up to the Pittsburgh Steelers, or they have no idea. And Aaron realistically is tying them to his finger and saying, you know what, we'll figure this out. You know, like good things will happen maybe, but right now I can't commit myself 100%. Dude, it's May. Nobody's committing themselves 100%. TJ Watt's not showing up for OTAs. The Cam Hayward shows up for like a day of OTAs. No veterans show up here. Ben Roethlisberger never showed up to OTAs. You don't need a 41-year-old quarterback at OTAs. It's a significantly less story. I just feel, and maybe I'm wrong, that not holding a team hostage has essentially held the Steelers hostage, where this is a significantly less urgent, chaotic, dramatic situation on the football front. If the argument or the sentiment being shared was Aaron won't be here till July, he's got stuff to deal with. Am I wrong there? Am I overlooking something?
Perhaps let's leave room for, the unknown. We don't know, we can't know what we don't know until we know it, as they say. But
yeah,
it seems from everything we're hearing, I really do think that, respectfully, like what Aaron Rodgers is saying and dealing with is important. And, the person comes before the player in my mind. I will always reinforce that and reinstate that belief. But that does not change the fact that he has given no real indication that he wants to be the Steelers starting quarterback or be on this team at all. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you're overlooking anything in this moment right now, because there's nothing else to really go off of that. I just find it so strange. And I almost want to play devil's advocate in this moment and ask you, is there any way that there is some sort of negotiation tactic going on in any way? I'm not talking about using a personal sort of thing about it. I'm just saying it has been so drawn out. Is this something we are overlooking, that there is a piece of the negotiation that has not been resolved? Is there something that goes beyond just, oh, there's a handshake agreement, but we're not going to announce it yet or give any more information until X date that we just aren't privy to at this moment?
I have a hard time believing that Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers are still negotiating anything. The Steelers have been very upfront about the situation as well. We're giving you a 1-year deal. I don't think yeah, that was crazy. It just came through my window too. For those of you who don't know, me and Jake live like 2-3 blocks away from each other, and there is a nasty thunderstorm going on outside right now. This is crazy, actually. I'm watching it through the window over here and through your computer screen as it shines into the side of you. Yeah, I have a hard time believing that the Steelers have adjusted their train of thought at all about this, or that. And at this point, if they are, they're suckers, man. Like, if you are, just to be real blatant here, if the Steelers are still in any negotiations with Aaron Rodgers, get the hell out and give it up, because at that point you look way worse. Way worse. This is damage control. The Steelers need to do some damage control in this situation. Negotiating with Aaron Rodgers still is wild. Absolutely wild that would be the case. Again, we don't know the exact. We know a lot of the situation. I have an idea of what the situation is, but again, I don't feel right sharing it. It's just not my place. And it does feel serious, but it also feels as if it could be avoided and less dramatic. And I mean, I'll finish with this question for you, because we do have other things to talk about. When it comes to Aaron in this, like, do you still think that there's a 50% maybe more chance he retires? Is that what this is? Is this Aaron going, if this doesn't turn out well, I'm walking away from the game? Or, because if that's the case, that's the only thing left that makes sense. It's the only thing left. Besides that, not being able to give yourself fully to a team until training camp is something almost all veteran quarterbacks do. So it doesn't make a difference. Like, I don't know. I have a hard time sitting here thinking it is on the table still, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
I can, to be a more sympathetic version of myself again, just to close this out, I can certainly foresee a situation where things are so tenuous, so day-to-day in Aaron Rodgers' life that it does not make any sort of sense to make a decision that would impact his next year if it does involve a close personal relationship, family, things like that. I certainly would feel like that is a very understandable decision. And that also would answer that sort of fill in the blanks of that quote that we've been going off of on this conversation of it not being fair to the Steelers. Like, kind of answering those questions. So I think there is that retirement element we're still maybe dealing with, and it could be that the family part, the personal, is that difficult and, you know, tightrope walking for him. So that's my final thoughts about that.
Maybe, and we'll find out at some point. And again, thoughts and prayers to Rodgers, his family, and everybody around him. You know, hoping for the best outcome. On the other side of this, Will Howard has a legendary mentor that is both incredible, ironic, and a little bit comical as we sit here today. He opened up about how Ben Roethlisberger, man, is just helping this kid out. He said on the Up and Adams show, quote, "Now being a Steeler, getting to know him, he's been really helpful for me. Texting me, checking in last week. I could see him being a really good mentor for me going forward, and he's been super nice so far." Couple of wild situations here. For one, shout out Ben, dude. Like, shout out. I'm glad that Ben got to a place in his life where he's comfortable and confident to help a young quarterback. That's awesome. That's what he should be, because he wants to remain a legendary figure in Pittsburgh. And that's the best way to do it, is to help create the next legendary figure in Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger could not stand Mason Rudolph, practically killed his career, or at least attempted to. And then I don't think he talked to Kenny Pickett more than 3 times ever in his entire life. Will Howard got the stamp of approval. Wild. What's it say about Will? What's it say about Ben? What's it say about the future of Will Howard and the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I am going to be the person who throws cold water on this.
Okay.
And say that I think this is more a reflection of where Ben Roethlisberger is in his post-NFL journey relative to where he was at the end of his playing days, more so than it is an endorsement indication of something specific with Will Howard. I think it is incredible to hear. The one key piece of that quote that I really keyed in on was that whenever Will was giving that quote, he started by saying he's been a mentor, and then quickly changed it to, I can see him being a great mentor to me. So I think there's still room for this mentorship to grow. And certainly if that does continue to happen, and if he does flourish under that sort of mentorship, then, you know, that's incredible. And it was an indication that they saw something franchise QB level in him at the 6th round of the 2025 NFL draft. That's the optimistic point of view. I think really what it is Ben has a football podcast now. He's more in the public
Media
sphere than
world.
he was as an NFL player. Yeah. So I think it just makes sense to like be more involved with the Steelers. You can get good relationships, good coverage, good things like that. So I think it might have been more about where Big Ben's at in his post NFL career than him being like, I recognize something in Will Howard that I did not see in Mason Rudolph. I don't buy that.
Look at I think the Mason thing, like, he just couldn't stand Mason. You know, like, he looked at it, he was like, dude, this guy is not as good as me. People are going to act as if he's, you know, Ben saw it. Ben saw it. You know, he's been in the NFL long enough to see enough guys come in and then everybody chant for the next guy. You know, Ben's been through it. I was a child. I was 10 years old, maybe. And I was at a Steelers game, first game ever. Ben played terribly. They lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and third quarter, fourth quarter, the chants across the stadium were Charlie Batch. And I was like, at the time, I was like, Charlie, yeah. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, why the hell did anybody want Charlie Batch in the game? Why? Shout out to Charlie Batch, but what are we doing here? And he knew what it was. He knew how easy it became. I agree with you. I think it has a lot to do on the Ben side of things with where he's at in his career and life and everything else. I also think he wants to help, but he's going to help everybody from this point. I think that's where we're at now. When it comes to Will, I hope it helps. Does it increase his odds at all? Like, do you look at Will getting help from Ben and go, maybe one day? You know, I didn't expect him to be a future starter. Now maybe I could see it.
I think there's no denying, as much as I was just pessimistic in my previous answer, how much the just having that line of connection, whatever happens, relationship, mentorship going forward, having that line of communication with Ben Roethlisberger will be a confidence booster for Will Howard. Just to have that person who feels like you're in your corner, even if he's not necessarily like in there showing him the ropes, all of those things. It's just nice to have a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback that you could turn to if you needed to. And so if that little bit of confidence boost helps him find more success in the preseason or just eventually, then great. I would say maybe gives him a 5 to 10% bump. And that's great. If that is evident on the field, I think that's fantastic.
I agree. I again, maybe 5-10% max, but we'll see. I'm rooting for Will. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm rooting for Will. I want Will to be good because he seems like a great dude, easy to talk to, super personable, well-respected leader. Like I love drama. I'm not going to act like I don't. I host a podcast, man. You know what I mean? When everything's boring, everything's boring. Drama is headlines, but I'm a little tired as a guy who's been here for 7 years in that locker room of the nonsense, and I can only imagine the guys in that locker room and how tired they are of it. Will is the opposite of nonsense. He is the complete opposite of drama 100%, and I hope that it works out. I do. I'm rooting for Will Howard.
Easy to root for. I make no disagreements on that end.
All right, let's finish up the quarterback conversation with Aaron Rodgers, Will Howard, and everything else. Right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are banking on Aaron Rodgers to show up. The assumed starter, if he doesn't, is Mason Rudolph. But one scout I heard today actually say Will Howard has 1,000% chance of starting this season if Aaron Rodgers doesn't show up, which is, I would say 5, maybe 10% chance. But I would open the door. The door's shut, locked, key, nail in the door right now where we're at. Rodgers doesn't sign, maybe you pull back a little bit. If Rodgers doesn't sign, okay, this entire offseason's wildly just painfully a painful failure. I can't even come up with the right words. A painful failure for the Pittsburgh Steelers because they went into it wanting Justin Fields, a young athletic quarterback that fit the bill and what they were looking for. They missed him because Mike Tomlin messed up and benched him midseason. And they stuck themselves to Aaron Rodgers through thick and thin, which you have to believe is a Mike Tomlin decision as well. They didn't draft Shedeur Sanders or any other quarterback in the first couple of rounds because they looked at it and said, A-Rod's coming. Mike Tomlin went on NFL Network and said, we trust it. It'll be fine. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign, who's this blame on and how bad is the blame? Because Mark Caboli, friend of the show, said this on his podcast, quote, Art steps in when he feels he needs to step in, not personnel things. The idea was Mike Tomlin's, and the idea of waiting is Mike Tomlin's. That would leave you to believe if it fails, it's Mike Tomlin. Where do you find quarterbacks where they find themselves now? They're going to have to get lucky. If it's Will Howard, I don't think so, but they have to get lucky on something like that. If Aaron Rodgers ends this wild offseason with the Pittsburgh Steelers stranded in the middle of the desert, looking around going, wow, dude, we're out here with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard and Skylar Thompson. What are we doing? I mean, is it on Tomlin? And what's worse, if that happens and it's on Tomlin, or if the Steelers sign Aaron Rodgers and win 5 games and it's on Tomlin? What's the worst? What one's worse in that outcome?
Ooh, the worst outcome is if they sign Aaron Rodgers and go 5-11, 5-12 in the 2025 season, because that would only reaffirm what you're kind of setting up there in that this was a Tomlin decision. He wanted to have his guy come in 2025, and that decision was a misguided one and did not play out in his favor once the season began. I think right now it's really hard, aside from the DK Metcalf acquisition, and maybe if you summarize the George Pickens trade as addition by subtraction, the offseason was in general like closer to failure than huge success because they do not have a franchise quarterback and missed out on anyone that made any bit of sense earlier in the offseason. So either way, you're kind of looking at like a failure right now until proven otherwise. But those two options you list, it's going to look really bad if Rodgers comes in and the Steelers absolutely poop the bed.
Yes, I agree. Does either one of them put Tomlin on the way of a hot seat? Does the seat, do you turn the seat warmer on a little bit?
For sure. I think there is something real about the possibility that, and listen, I love Mike Tomlin. I really am a firm believer in how good of a coach he is. And I do not have like a replacement at the ready or some other coach that I would feel 100% confident in getting them to the next level. But that being said, I think it is very real to wonder about the long-term job security of Mike Tomlin and how much the 2025 and 2026 seasons, will make or break that. I think that becomes more and more realistic with every passing day. And until a quarterback comes in, there's no sort of cushion being built in to disrupt that or slow that down.
I agree. Like you have to, there has to be a shot of life. There has to be a light at the end of the tunnel for the Steelers and everybody else to look at and go like, hold on. Because just look at what we've done all offseason. We have sat here for months now and have tried to talk everybody into 1 year from now, 10 months roughly, the Pittsburgh Steelers will begin to see that light at the end of the tunnel. But right now, we're not even close. That is wild. That is, I could not imagine sitting there every Sunday going, that's 16 more, and we're close to possibly getting a quarterback. Like that is atrocious. That is a crime to your fan base, which is again all on Mike Tomlin. And I agree. I think this was an offseason where Tomlin and Rooney especially, acknowledged how down bad the Steelers were. What they've done is add 3 years to Mike Tomlin's deal to say we support him because we think he could get us out of the mud. And then Mike Tomlin dragged them through the Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat. And we still have no idea where it's going. And that's on Tomlin. And it looks awful if it does not work out in the way that Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers need it to work out, which you got to win games. You have to look like a contender, because if you don't, it's going to be louder than you ever imagined. Go ahead. You got thoughts. I could tell.
A more question. Feels like we're on the same page as far as the blame that lies on Tomlin for the most part. Does Omar Khan, is he accountable in any way or in any major way, as Tomlin might be in this hypothetical we're going down?
So potentially, okay. Where I think Tomlin is further in the race is week 7 against, I think it's the New York Jets, when Brandon Marshall asked Mike Tomlin about his ballsy decision, quote unquote, to put Russell Wilson out there. And Mike T's response was, that's why I'm well compensated. That comment started the downfall of all of this, because you look at it in hindsight and you go, you look like an idiot in that situation, because it's true. Like that is the moment where you look back and go, dude, if you look so much worse, because what came from that was, what did Russ start? 4-0, and then he finished 4-6, 5-6, something like that. You look at it and you went, okay, yeah, you got paid the big bucks for your team to stink, to really stink. And I think that's why it's more on him than Omar Khan. I think Omar gets blamed, but Omar's been here for 3 years. And I think outside of the quarterback has done a pretty good job. And I think did a pretty good job getting Russ and Justin Fields here for a 6th round pick. Mike T screwed it up, and I think that's why it's on Mike Tomlin, where we sit today, and things could change and everybody could look terrible in a year, but where we sit today, I do think a lot of the blame's on Mike T, and it could get bad. But again, T's and P's to Aaron Rodgers, and maybe a decision comes one day. It doesn't sound like it's coming soon. And which again, like I haven't heard anything since mini camp, the expectations mini camp, OTAs. That's in a week, dude. I don't know when that was recorded, but the best thing he did was name the Steelers by name. Besides that, he did nothing to make it seem like he's any closer to the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. I want to give a quick shout out to our boys over at Factor. Make this your best season yet with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. Just heat up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. Get outside instead of prepping and cooking indoors. Factor meals arrive fresh and ready to eat, perfect for any active lifestyle. With 45 weekly menu options, you pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. Choose from Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more. Factor powers your day with satisfying breakfasts, on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, and guilt-free snacks and desserts. It's easy to savor more this spring. Factor meals pack in the flavor with none of the fuss. The best part about it is that you could change them. One week I'm feeling calorie smart because I got to fit into a suit for my brother's wedding. The next week I'm heading to the gym, which means protein, protein, protein. And when I'm feeling fat and gross and whatever, I'll just do a little bit of both and say, hey, this is better than anything that I'm going to make for myself. Get started at factormeals.com/allsteelerstalk50 off and use our code allsteelerstalk50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code allsteelerstalk50 off at factormeals.com/allsteelerstalk50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Shout out to our boys over at Factor. That is everything on our agenda. We're going to start diving into all your questions, so make sure you're tossing them in the chat. We'll be right back.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind All Steelers Talk comes black and gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
All righty. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. If you got questions, toss them in the chat. Nate Moore is calling us up. Bro really just gave us a double ad. You need a breather, dude. The second ad is for a breather, bro. I'm dying up here after talking for an hour. The voice is raspy, my friend. The voice is raspy.
Double ad.
I always mean to do the Factor one like halfway through our conversation, and then I'm sitting here going, I feel like I forgot something. Feel like I forgot to do something. And then I realized that it's our advertisement. Shout out to Factor, man. Shout out to Factor.
You wouldn't forget if you had already made your Factor meal today, Noah. Come on.
That is true, dude. That is true. I ate peanut butter oatmeal balls for breakfast and have eaten nothing since. So yeah, they were fantastic, to be honest with you. They were fantastic. All right. Artisanal Bully Kennel kicks us off. You said in the call-in show to go get a Caleb Johnson jersey, but what's your over-under on him going to number 2 when Mason leaves? Great question. Great question. I would say you have a pretty close to 50% chance that Caleb Johnson eventually switches to number 2, but what he does in 20 over the next 2 years is significant. Mason's going to be here next year, or this year and next. 2 years in 20. Is Caleb already a Pro Bowler? Is he potentially an All-Pro? Does he do all these crazy things at 20 and then you don't want to switch, or does he still go to 2? That's tough. That is tough. There's usually buy-in programs, though, when these things do happen, where the NFL will take your jersey, give you a credit towards the next jersey. I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but it should be a straight swap. Let's be honest. The NFL should just say, hey, you paid $100 for that jersey. We'll give you the right one. No worries about it. That's on us. You know, that's on us. So I would say 50% chance. You think the Steelers would give Caleb Johnson number 2? They gave Patrick Queen 6.
Yeah, it's a new world in terms of jersey numbers in the NFL. I think that would be just an unreal sight on the field to see Caleb Johnson, or really just any running back wearing number 2 or a single digit number. So yeah, I'd be all for it. I would say that either will or will not happen. There's your over under.
Thanks for the update. Well, I would say, look, I think the Steelers do give him 2 at some point. It depends on what he does in the next 2 years. That's my thing. Or Mason Rudolph becomes an all-pro quarterback, like everybody's saying. Never know. You never know. Marlon Lewis here. I go on vacation tomorrow and come back Tuesday. Rodgers is going to sign in that time frame. Also, when's the first facial hair bet? After June. Easily after June. I got brother's wedding, June 6th. Anniversary the week after that, which I'll give you guys an update now. Podcast will be a little spotty during that time. A lot of I don't even want to say vacations. Being the best man at a wedding is not a vacation. It's fantastic. I'm super happy, but it is a job. It is a full-blown calm the nerves job. After that, definitely open to a conversation. I'm also interested in potentially shaving my head. So if we want to bet that, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Rodgers signing within the next week, potentially. Jake goes on vacation on Friday, which means that if I had to guess, yes. If I had to guess, it is all seemingly adding up to yes, within the next week, Rodgers is in house. Saturday, that's all I ask is not Saturday. There's a giant Italian festival in my hometown of Jessup. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I will not be in the state of mind to talk about Aaron Rodgers proficiently enough in the way that I would like to do so. So, Aaron, Sunday morning, do your thing. Saturday, enjoy the day.
Is this that festival? I don't want to derail us too much, but is this that festival you were telling me about going to training camp last year where there's just like okay, cool.
Yeah, just a full race of people carried 1-ton statues through the streets of Jessup. Yeah, it's the greatest day of all time. Anybody who's real into Italian culture, show up, man. It's a great time. Great time. You'll be welcome to every single house. No questions.
Incredible.
Carl Spackler, shout out with the All Steelers Talk membership. Make sure somebody grabs that, calls into the call-in show next week. Thank you, as always, my man. Egyptian Roughneck, how we feel about Justin Tucker being let go, and also rumors that Ravens may not pay Henry $30 million. Sounds like more drama in the North. Love it. You've been catching bad guys, so you missed Derrick Henry. Signed a deal with the Ravens. I don't know what the exact number is. I think it's $22 million, $25 million over the next 2 years. That's what he's looking for, 25 a year. So Henry signed. AFC North is full of, the Cincinnati Bengals are dumpster fire right now, and I don't think you could get anywhere. What's your, we'll ask a good, we'll go off rail here. Browns, Ravens, Bengals, your concern level of each one.
Browns do nothing for me. I would have to see them win 12 games before I even feel concerned about that back half of the season matchup. Okay. So I'd go Browns. Bengals give me, they give me some pause. They give me some concern. There's always the possibility they could put it together with the pieces that surround Joe Burrow and company. But the team that gives me the most concern is the Ravens, and I think that is just going to remain the same for a bit. Derrick Henry also signed a $25 million guaranteed on that contract, by the way. Yeah.
Shout out. I have almost limited concern in the Browns. The only concern I have is that they somehow end up beating the Steelers at least once every 2 years, and it feels like the Bengals might not even field a team by the time the season shows up. Baltimore is way too quiet to be dramatic. It's crazy how quiet of an organ. Go Google the Baltimore Ravens. You'll find nothing. It's so boring. It's so atrocious. I couldn't imagine being a Ravens fan, dude. You just doing nothing this time of year. You're not freaking out about a thing. Come on. What do you do? Just go to bed peacefully at night? Unbelievable. Artisanal Bully Kennel. Tomlin's rule is if you want a single-digit number, then you need to be a Pro Bowler. Caleb Johnson, a Pro Bowl in the next 2 years. Over, under, what's your thoughts?
I think that's very likely. I think over under 74.5% likely.
74. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I think Caleb John. Okay. How many Pro Bowlers from this draft class do the Steelers have in the next 2 years?
One, I think it's probably just Caleb Johnson. I don't think the other ones are going to be bad and going to be described as busts by any stretch of the imagination. But I think Caleb Johnson, I'm gaining steam. I'm getting higher and higher on him. I think he's going to be the bell cow sooner than later.
You are learning the ways of Caleb Johnson, because you will eventually find yourself addicted to Caleb Johnson highlights. They are fantastic, my friend. They are. Shout out Iowa football, dude, for never throwing the football, because unbelievable content on Caleb Johnson. Justin Gordon here. Tomlin's big bucks comment was justified because Justin Fields had the chance to be Willie Beeman and couldn't keep Russ on the bench. The offense was better with Russell Wilson. There are people that sit on this side of the argument with the Russell Wilson was not the reason the Steelers offense was bad and Justin Fields wasn't that impressive. I could see, look, there's an argument to be made there. Okay. Do I sit on that side of the argument? No, but there's an argument to be made. I think my argument against it is not the fact that I think Justin was better or would have played better. It's simply the fact that Justin was playing well enough and the team was winning enough and they weren't beating these other teams big enough for me to say bench Justin and don't see what you have in him, because clearly the Steelers saw enough in Justin to say next year that's going to be our guy. Next year we're going to give him an opportunity. And I don't know if the thought process was put him on the bench to save us money, if the thought process was put him on the bench because Russ has to be the guy, or put him on the bench because we don't want his value to go up before the end of the season. I have no idea. What I do know is that in the NFL, the longer you sit, the more you clean your slate, and the league looks at you as a hot commodity again. I think that's my argument against it, is maybe Russ and the offense was better in some people's eyes, but Justin wasn't bad enough for the Steelers not to continue to see if he could grow into something pretty impressive. Because I remember the day he showed up to OTAs, I was on this channel getting smacked around by everybody talking about how bad Justin Fields looked and how terrible he was. And he came a long way from showing up at OTAs and minicamp. And I think the Steelers saw that. That's my only argument, I think, against it. I can't sit here and say Russ stunk. I don't think that's true. But I do think that you had an opportunity to see what Justin could have become in a year. And that's my argument against it.
Yep, fair enough. And I just think there was times at the end of the 2024 season where Russ showed you that he was not giving you the best chance to win, regardless of if it wasn't entirely his fault. And the frustrating part of that was just how stubborn Mike T seemed to be in continuing to go with Russ whenever he had a quarterback that maybe you weren't going to do better. Maybe it was just the offensive line had reached its peak and all the weapons around them had kind of sputtered out of line or whatever. But
yep,
they never had that chance. They never even looked at it. So yeah, it's I don't fully disagree with Justin. I don't think Russ was the problem. I don't think Justin was the problem either. I just think they kind of botched it regardless of which side of the fence you're on.
I agree. I think it comes down to where was the potential and can you make that argument? And in my case, I think I could. Now, again, I hear the argument for us. I do.
For sure.
Do. Egyptian Roughneck asking all the real questions here. Start bench cut, lasagna, cannolis, eggplant parmesan.
Wow.
Maybe the hardest decision I've ever made in my entire life. Okay. I got an answer. I got
a quick answer.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Okay. All right. And this might, let the drama ensue. I am starting cannolis because I'm just a huge sweet tooth guy. Yep. I am benching eggplant parm because I want that thing to be ready. And I'm cutting lasagna. I don't know if any of my Italian ancestors are looking down on me in shame, but
it's tough, man. I hear you.
Eggplant parm, when it's good,
it is good. Yeah, it is unbelievable. Yeah. It is unbelievable. This is tough. I think I'm starting eggplant parm. Okay. I think I'm
Ooh,
starting eggplant. I think I could eat eggplant parm for days without question. Zero things else. Just give me eggplant parm, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and every snack in between. I think I could do it. Man, dude, my grandma's sitting here ready to smack me. Okay. I could see it. You know what I mean? I got ancestors that are looking down right now, furious at my train of thought here. But they also know I'm a sucker for a cannoli, man. And if it's a good cannoli, it's got me in the bag. I'm gonna bench cannolis. I don't want to cut lasagna, dude. Like there's nothing about me that wants to cut lasagna. I would eat lasagna day, night. It doesn't matter. Lasagna is fantastic. This might be the toughest one we've ever done. I would say I'm cutting lasagna and it hurts. Like, did you ever see, I forget what team it was. I want to say it was the Giants, maybe it was the Commanders. Brought somebody in, cut him, and they cried when they cut him. The guy was tearing up when he had to let him go.
I don't remember offhand.
That's me cutting lasagna. As I am in tears telling this food that it has to leave because we just don't have the space on the roster. That's phenomenal. That's so hard. Roger Steeler here. 2023, Rudolph, Pickett, Trubisky, Fire Canada, 10-7 season. 2024 season, Wilson, Fields, Arthur Smith still finished 10-7. Tomlin there both seasons. You tell me what the problem is. I mean, it's clearly Mike Tomlin, but it's clearly Mike Tomlin's decisions. I don't think it's Mike Tomlin's, actions. I don't think it's some of the actions, but I don't think it's Mike Tomlin being a bad coach. I think it's Mike Tomlin making bad decisions. That's why I think it evened out. In 2023, that team was terrible. They should not have won 10 games. They were very lucky that they did win 10 games. To be honest, if they've won 6, I think it would have been acceptable. That's how bad that roster was. It was awful. Like, it was god awful how bad that roster was. 2024, much better roster. Needed a wide receiver. I don't know what the issue was, but something died off somewhere, and I do put the blame on Tomlin. But do you take away, okay, 2023, you won more than you should. 2024, you lost more than you should. Does it even out? Can you even out? Or is that just a disappointment if you even out?
To me, it evens out, and maybe that is just the exact opposite of what Roger wanted to hear with that. But I mean, that 2023 team, I know we took Kenny still riding high, that first round pick expectations, all that stuff, but that team was bad. The fact that they won 10 games, if we are going to criticize Tomlin's performance in 2024, which deserves criticism, I will stand by that as well. Some of his decision-making in games and personnel choices deserved as much criticism as is levied upon him. But if we're going to give him all of this flack for that, we have to acknowledge how strong of a job he did to pull 10 wins out of a team that had 3 JV quarterback options. And, I think to not acknowledge one or the other would just be kind of giving an incomplete picture. The equation's missing a variable here that we need to solve. It's not just Tomlin.
I agree. You got to find the variable's a quarterback. That's what it is. The variable's a quarterback. If you have it, you can make up for bad head coaching decisions. You're not going to win a Super Bowl without solid head coaching decisions, but I think it removes so much they're just not meeting the bill that you could work and succeed off of it. And that's just not. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. Nate Moore here. What are the chances Caleb Johnson is the primary back this season? More than 50% of the carries. What's your odds here, chances here?
I think it is likely. I think it is more than 50% likely, not the most probable. Let's call it 60% likely. I think the Steelers really have wanted to give much more opportunities to Jaylen Warren throughout his entire tenure in Pittsburgh. Yeah. And for injuries, one reason or another, it hasn't worked out in his favor. I totally think the goal is to make Jaylen Warren be the primary guy in 2025. And if he stays healthy, that's like the ideal plan. But as I just mentioned a minute or two ago, I think Caleb Johnson has the potential to be very special. So if he comes in and shows that immediately, why are you going to force him to take a backseat to Jaylen Warren if you found, not calling him a Le'Veon Bell, but if you found a guy who is akin to that and can be your bell cow for the next 4 to 5 seasons, then why are you going to make him wait on the bench? So I think it's likely not going to happen. I won't say yet, but I think we have a good chance of that taking place in 2025.
I agree. There's a part of me that thinks Jaylen Warren is being real overlooked this offseason, and people are not giving him the credit that he deserves. But there's also a part of me that's sitting here going, but Caleb Johnson's fantastic. And Jaylen may just be suited as that really strong number 2. And I think that that's a good place to be. Like, it's nothing pulling against Jaylen. It's more so just, how do you fit best in the equation? How does everybody fit best? And I think Jaylen's going to start every game this season, and Caleb might have 0 starts on his actual stat card, but I think he outruns him in a good chunk of games. I do think that that's a real possibility here.
The position volatility is
bad
ahead. Too. Oh, sorry. Just like if it was any other position, I would say, it's more likely that the incumbent is going to start again. But like running backs, they change with the wind as the wind changes. So it wouldn't surprise me at all for Jaylen Warren to get backseated there. Sorry to hold us up there.
Hey, your thoughts are always welcome. Always welcome. Marlon Lewis, who will be the most impactful rookie on the field this year? You already mentioned it. You're saying Caleb Johnson?
Yeah. I won't waste any more breath on that. Caleb Johnson for sure.
Caleb Johnson, I think my number 2 by a long shot here is Derek Harmon. I honestly, to be honest with you, can I be very honest? I think it's Derek Harmon. I think my choice is Derek Harmon now that I sit here for it with second. Like, I just think he might not have the stat card. He might not make Pro Bowl, but I just think what he brings to the Steelers defensive line that they have been missing for so long is so significant. Like, he might finish with 60 tackles and a sack, but teams might run with 60% less efficiency on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there might not be the Colts game where nobody's are running all over the place on the Steelers defense, or, Tyrone, whatever his name is, out of Tracy, out of New York, might not show up as a 6th round rookie running back and blow up the whole game for the Pittsburgh Steelers and give Daniel Jones a shot to win the game. Like, that's the impact I think Derek Harmon's going to have. And I think that's significant, but Caleb Johnson's my number 2 with ease, without any question whatsoever. Maddie here. When do OTAs start again, and what progress are you looking for from the team as a whole? Who is your sleeper in OTAs and someone who may be overlooked? OTAs start next Tuesday. They will go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the week after that, and then the week after that is minicamp. What are you looking for as a team as a whole? To be honest, I want to see how good Mason Rudolph is. That's what I'm looking for. How good is Mason Rudolph leading this offense with pads and helmets on, or with shorts and helmets on? I mean, probably looking pretty good. But to be honest with you, like, Chris Oladokun looked awful. Justin Fields looked awful. Even Russ looked awful at times. Like, there were a lot of times throughout the years where you're sitting there at OTAs going, yikes, big yikes. I think Mason could be able to show something. My sleeper in OTAs. Oh, good question. Good question. My sleeper in OTAs, I don't know if this could be a sleeper, but I think it's Calvin Austin. I think Calvin Austin takes a significant step this year, and you see it pretty early. And someone who may be overlooked, Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren is, look, he's a dog at the end of the year. Like, at the end of the day, like, everybody, like, I think it is overlooked how good Jaylen Warren is. And, like, yeah, he might be better suited as the guy coming off the bench, but, like, he's still so good, and I think we're going to see that in OTAs.
For sure. I just want to see them be, excited to be there. I want to just see that, like, refresh, clean slate sort of energy. I know there's lots of questions sort of hanging over them, but I want to just see, new year, fresh start, see everyone getting in there, having fun, looking a little better than they probably will once, more intense game action comes up. And as for a sleeper, someone I would like to see at all is Malik Harrison, and just sort of see if there is any more competition to feel out at the inside linebacker position. We've
I
already
like
talked
that.
about a lot of good names, and it feels like a deep group. Who separates themselves? Does Peyton Wilson become the number one? Is Patrick Queen still the leader? Is Malik Harrison going to force his way into more snaps? Cole Holcomb, like lots of fun stuff. But Malik Harrison's the newest face out of those four. So, I'm excited to see what he can do. So I'll take him for sleeper and overlooked as well.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Egyptian Roughneck, SBC. Oh, start bench cut. Chicken Florentine. Oh, chicken piccata. Sausage and peppers. Oh my gosh. You got this one's tough. Wow. This one's tough. I think I got it. You got it?
Go first. I'm gonna ponder more.
All right. My starter is chicken Florentine. I just don't think it's the go-to. It's if you show up in an Italian restaurant, you're not really sure what to get. Nothing on the menu really pops the way that you want it to. Chicken Florentine's always there. Always there. Sausage and peppers is unbeatable. You know what I mean? Like you get a good sausage and peppers. Sorry, dude. I ain't leaving the house for days. That's how bad my heartburn's going to be. And I am here for it. Chicken piccata. I'm a fan. It's like lasagna to me. This is brutal. I just don't think in this 3, I would sit here with like the eggplant parm cannoli lasagna thing. Like you throat to the neck here. That's what we're doing. That's what you did to me. This one, I think it's like the second generation of like tough decisions here, which I have an easier time making. Still awful. It's like kicking a small child off a boat to say, sorry, dude. Like, that's how much I care about these 3 meals. That's how much I care about them. Like they are legit. Italian food is my children. That's how I view this. And one of them's got to go. That's how it looks at it. That's how I look at it.
You kicked, will that be chicken piccata off the boat?
Piccata off the boat. It's as if I lined up and said, these are 3 people that I love very much so. And then I just booted the middle one right off into the ocean. That's how I felt in that. That's how I feel there. That's how I feel.
Chicken piccata is the starter on my list. And just even saying that after hearing you boot
kick them right off the boat, dude.
I don't even want to go over the rest of my list after that because I think they're just it's fine. It's fine. What's the next question, Noah?
Chicken piccata is the starter. Look it's just picking it up. I'm telling you, man, it's kicking it right off the boat. Right off the boat. Right off the boat. Jim D here. I think we should reach out to Carson Wentz and give him a shot. He wasn't that bad. Your thoughts on Carson Wentz if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign?
I would be intrigued by that. Let me throw a name that I think might be more intriguing to me. And it was after reading Brian Diardo's article from CBS Sports was Tyler Huntley. And I know nothing's exciting about Carson Wentz or Tyler Huntley. Let's be very, very objective here in this moment. Yeah. But man, if you're going to give someone a chance, I think I would, sure, Carson Wentz has some upside, and especially if like in the Mason Rudolph and Will Howard form very much fits the bill. But I think I would like someone who has a little bit more dynamic skill set, maybe who is closer to a Justin Fields than Mason Rudolph, if that's the direction we're going for to fill out the quarterback room. So good option, feel him out, try him out, whatever. But I wouldn't be all in on him immediately. I wouldn't kick him off the boat either.
Okay. I wouldn't look at. I'd keep him on the boat. I'd keep them both on the boat. I don't know if Tyler Huntley would be a name I'd be going after. I think at that point, talent wise, I just don't think he's got the arm. That's what always worried me about Tyler Huntley. He's a real one-trick pony here. And to me, like Carson Wentz, maybe like Carson Wentz and Mason Rudolph, maybe almost the same talent level. Maybe you're getting the same production out of them. Not the worst thing in the world. I think Tyler Huntley's less talented than both of them. Obviously, great runner, Pro Bowler. Got to acknowledge that one. But I don't think I'd be into Tyler Huntley that much. I'd be into Carson Wentz a little bit. I think that's the name to watch right now. Other guys that are available currently, none of them are coming to mind. Let's pull up the free agency list. Quarterback free agents in the NFL. see who's still out there, because there's got to be. I mean, Ryan Tannehill's still out there. No,
Nothing. No.
I'm good on the Ryan Tannehill and where we're at there. There's not even available. There we go. Aaron, the list is short,
Aaron Rodgers.
dude. It is so short. There's like 7 guys on it. It's Aaron Rodgers, Carson Wentz, Teddy Bridgewater, CJ Beathard, Tyler Huntley, Jeff Driscoll, Desmond Ridder, Jake Fromm. That is an atrocious list of players there. Atrocious list of players there. Carson Wentz is there on it. Desmond Ridder stinks, but maybe Teddy Bridgewater might be the only other one on this list that I think is capable of doing anything. That's so bad.
Is he not retired again, or is he still available? Is there any? I thought he was going. I was hoping he was going back to coaching, and he would just be like one of those people that you call in like week 15.
Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. He's just sitting there, and they just keep him on the list just in case. I have no idea. I'd be okay with Carson Wentz. Sure. This list is bad, man. This list
is so bad.
Is bad. All right, we're gonna finish it off with this one. I want to give a shout out, get a little sentimental here for a second. Carl Spackler. In all seriousness, I appreciate you, Noah and Jacob, and the AST/Steelers fans. Pops recently found out he has cancer, and things have been somber. Steelers drama helps. Steelers drama always helps. Carl, I want to give a special shout out to you, my friend. Anything I could do to help, anything we can do to help, please let us know. As always, love you, brother. Thinking about you, thinking about the family. As always, we'll keep you in my thoughts and prayers as we keep it trucking. And with that, maybe Carson Wentz retired, took a coaching job at North Dakota State.
That's a lovely full circle moment for him.
It's where he was his best. Maybe Trey Lance is going to do it next. Who's not on that list? I think he's somewhere else, but who's not on that list? All right. With that said, guys, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Make sure to check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. Go hit those audio downloads on Apple. You got to hit the download all, and then you got to hit the 5-star review. We're at 4.6. We're getting there. Thank you guys. Can't thank you enough. And find all of our work, as always, at si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, we will be back tomorrow. Enjoy a rainy, but another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.